Hey guys, I'm going to talk about my theory on character design for Jane Smith, Wannabe Gladiator. And in this one, I'm going to talk more about practical tips rather than maybe like overarching art theory. The basic idea of my comic is I'm trying to blend cartoony elements with realistic elements, and I want to try to capture elements of both styles, right? But because they're competing styles, it's really hard to marry them. My basic theory for character design is every detail on the character, there should be a reason why it's there, even if it's a superficial detail, but especially if it suggests something about the character's soul. I start with basics. I am team draw a circle with a graph on it because in this form, you can really play with things like the shape of the skull. Is it a taller skull or a wider skull? For the face, for the plane for the space, I kind of use like a triangle or a rectangle. And then I could give someone like a ridiculously long jaw or a tiny little pointy jaw and then play with different noses. And for me as a writer, usually I start by drawing a character and then I write the story to come up with the character. I'm not primarily a writer, I'm primarily an artist. And then for the secondary characters, what happens is as I'm writing the story, I reach the point where I say, oh, there's got to be like a nerd guy. There's got to be a bully. What does the bully look like? So there are very different ways of coming up with characters, but my method works for both approaches. Let's take a look at, idea number one is a basic shape. At the dumbest down level, and this is an idea from cartooning, what is the basic shape? Rectangle, square, oval, circle, egg, heart. He's a little harder. We'll talk a bit more about him later. So once I have that basic premise, then I can construct the rough outline of the shape. Then I consider things like the eyes, the mouth, the eyebrows, the things that are used for expression. These are most relevant for a character who expresses their soul. So let me show you my eyebrow page. So you can do a lot of fun things with eyebrows. So with semi-realistic eyebrows, I consider those to be like thinner. They're less goofy looking. They give you a good range of expression. But the nice thing about cartoony eyebrows is they can make someone stand out and they can sometimes suggest a default emotion. So if someone has angry looking eyebrows, you can have them have expressions other than angry, but they're always going to kind of like have a slightly miffed look to them. So what's nice about that is it can suggest this is how the person ordinarily is, even if there's more to them than just that. So kind of sad eyes, kind of doleful eyes, focused, intense, sharp eyes. I didn't quite get them right in this one, but Martha's supposed to have sort of more calm eyes. Jane, I gave her thinner eyebrows because I don't want her to have big, goofy eyebrows because I thought those would be too distracting. So, but she constantly has like a surprised or fearful expression. Flora here also has thin eyes, but her default expression is sort of intense and confident. If you put like a funny angle to them, you'll give them a bit more of a mischievous look. Thicker eyes thicker eyebrows. I don't know. I'm not sure quite what they connote. I think short little eyebrows tend to suggest kind of like a surprised or calm person. But you can just keep playing with the shapes and experiment with putting the tip of the eyebrow at different points. You can get all kinds of different things from that. All right, so there's eyes. Let's talk about hair. So in anime, have you ever noticed how girls will have like bright green or bright pink or bright blue hair? Well, the nice thing about that is it helps you separate the characters, but it's also a crutch for same face syndrome, I think. If you want a really good mangaka who does not have same face syndrome, I think Mitsuru Kubo, the artist and author of Yuri on Ice and Again, she has excellent character facial construction. You can always tell exactly who the character is just by subtle details of how their jawline or their eyes are shaped. So for hair, let's talk about Mary here a little bit because she's a good example. So Mary's a character who I started drawing her and then I figured out her personality later, and I gave her this goofy hairstyle. So I drew this kind of like big, strong, doleful-looking woman with a goofy hairstyle that's asymmetrical, and then I kind of like drawing her, and then I came up with a story for her. Why does she have a big, goofy, asymmetrical hairstyle? Well, she doesn't really care much about physical appearance. She's a bit eccentric. She's a little bit more focused on her own things. She probably cuts her own hair and doesn't do a very good job of it. So that's an example of a character with a goofy, extravagant hairstyle. With a lot of them, though, because they're supposed to be like regular high school kids, I try to tone it down a little bit and not give them like the big Goku hair. So black guy, Faye, I played with a lot of different like black guy hairstyles, but I didn't like the flat top. So I tried to bring in a little bit more of Aqualad from Young Justice, a little bit more of John Stewart from Justice League into that. I played a lot with having like one of those little, lightning marks in the side of the head, and it was just too hard to draw, and it was distracting and made him look old. But I gave him a little tiny bit of a widow's peak. The other hard thing is young characters are really hard to draw because if you give them any lines on their face, they're instantly going to look 30 or 40. So sometimes I want to give people really strong jaw lines or really strong cheekbones, but that doesn't really work on high school kids. So I always write no old man cheekbones. So regular guy hair with a little bit of a cowlick in the back. Another trick is have your characters part their hair differently. Parts on the right, parts on the left. Flora, parts in the center. Jane, parts on the right. So how the hair is parted, the color of the hair, do they have a cowlick, how long is it, how is it cut, the texture of the hair. Is it sort of silky hair that lays flat? Is it curly, kinky hair? Is it messy and kimbo, wavy, straw? I call it like straw, wispy straw-like hair. There's curly and there's more wispy hair, right? So if I have two characters who have a similar thing, like this person has wispy hair, this person has wispy hair, then I like to have a different shape or different cut to distinguish those two. And I just keep playing with all these different things so nobody looks too much like anybody else. Okay, eyebrows, hair, ears. So one of the big ideas for Jane was that she has big giant ears. So I tend to start with a classical form. Everything's pretty, everything's nice and pristine, nothing stands out too much. And I like to give characters maybe one, maybe two, but usually just one prominent feature that stands out. So because Jane has a very plain and simple face, because when I give her the big ears are the thing that stand out most of all. A more classically handsome dude, a more classically beautiful girl, they're probably not going to have a big giant standout feature. So those are my main protagonists. Let's talk about the secondary characters a little bit. So the secondary characters are interesting because I usually have to design them rather than just drawing them. I have to come up with a character that fits a certain role in the story. The bad guy, the nerd, the bully, the goofball. So one of the hardest characters to draw is a character who has a mix of good and evil inside of him. I've struggled a lot with this bastard because he's supposed to be the bad guy, but he's supposed to be more complex than it's like at first he seems like a stupid, goofy, over-the-top bad guy, but there's really more to his soul than that. So I had to give him traits that you could spot him and say, yep, that's one evil bastard. A little stuck-up nose. I love to use that for an evil bastard, right? But then I wanted to balance that with he's got some handsomeness, he's got some dignity to him as well. So classical Greek hero hair. His nose does stick up a little at the end, but it's got this nice sort of dignified curve to it. His jawline is a little bit more feminine, but I didn't just want him to be like a girl without boobs. So I gave him a little bit of a pointed what do you call it? I call it like a chin point or a heart with the bottom cut off. So it gives this sense of kind of like an elongated, more androgynous, but specifically male face. Another fun thing you can do is take old OCs you drew when you were 10 years old and repurpose that. So I needed a nerd. Well, I used to draw this nerd character when I was 10 years old in a comic strip. So I repurposed him. And the basic idea of him is his head was kind of shaped like a light bulb, right? And he's got little Harry Potter glasses. Oh, accessories. So when you start with basic structure, then you're going to be able to have them look different no matter what. Like you could shave them bald and still be able to tell who they are. They could be naked and and you could still tell who they are based on their face type. So with that in mind, accessories are a great way to add even more distinction, like cross necklace, rectangular glasses, evil bastard half moon glasses, nerdy circular or oval glasses, the guy who wears sunglasses indoors, and that's all there is to his personality. His personality is summed up as wears glasses indoors. He's there to be a secondary character in certain fight scenes. Another character who, the bully character, I also had this problem where I want there to be elements of ugliness contrasted with elements of beauty. And any character who is going to show up and talk, I usually at least want to have a basic idea of what their flaw is and what good I want to see happen to them by the end. So Greta is a bully. The initial dumb idea is, well, why does she bully Jane? She bullies Jane because Jane is pretty, and that makes Greta feel bad about herself. So once I know that, then I need to make Greta kind of big and sort of unattractive looking. But I want Greta's arc basically to be, oh, okay, I don't have to be an evil bastard, right? So I needed to design a face that would let me I didn't just want to like magically make her like a blind bimbo and ta-da, everything's good. But the basic idea was I want her to have this strong look so that when she goes on her redemption arc, she's still kind of like a rough looking squarish girl. Like, again, there's that shape idea to her, but it's sort of like once she learns to be good on the inside, then it shines out. Check out that beautiful Roland Dahl meme. I love that Roland Dahl meme. When your thoughts are happy, it shines out of your face like sunshine beams. So a basic idea to build on, and then you construct the little details in mind of that. We didn't even get into body type and clothing, but the face has so many features. You can focus just on the face at first, and then I get around to height and weight and those things after that. There you go. Those are my thoughts.